Today we're comparing two incredible speakers, the Klipsch RF7 version 3 and MartinLogan's new Motion XT F200 floor standing speakers. Now over the past 17 years, I have owned over 50 pair of Klipsch speakers. So if I were to compare these side by side, there's likely going to be a pretty good bias towards Klipsch. So instead of me comparing both speakers, I set up a blind A/B comparison for my wife to listen to both speakers on music that she was familiar with to see which speaker she would prefer the most. So which speaker did she choose? The results just may surprise you. Hey guys, in our last video, we did an unboxing and an overview of the brand new MartinLogan Motion XT speakers, in particularly the F200s. During that video, I asked Jessica to come out just to give us an initial impression, just based on the looks. So before we get into what, we've done some kind of comparisons between the two speakers, wanted her to hear them, just kind of get her opinion on those to see if she's hearing some of the same things that I am. But before we go into that, as far as aesthetics, what are your thoughts now after having a couple days? Has it changed? Do you have the same opinion? What do you think?
Well, when you talk about decorating, okay. I think it actually looks better. Okay. I wasn't sure when you first brought them out because they seem very bright white.
Yeah.
But for people looking to decorate their house, especially now with the new modern, everybody likes white and clean. I like the white and the gray. Yeah. So at least it looks better.
And that's different for us because we've always had like a traditional type style home. We definitely have not been modern, but over the past year, you've been getting more white furniture. You can see back here, the white bar stools. We've got some accents in the kitchen that are white as well.
I would like more white, but we don't have it yet. But yeah, so for the part of the reason why he had us theater room, because I don't really like speakers out in like the living area. Yeah. But so if you want your wife to get a pair of speakers, maybe these will work.
Okay. And a lot of companies make different finishes. They'll make cherry, they'll make mahogany, they'll make black, because that kind of goes with everything. But then you've got some companies like MartinLogan, Arundel, Canto makes some white speakers, yeah. Kef makes white speakers. And so just finding something that fits with your decor is really important. I didn't think you were going to like them, to be honest with you, because to me, they're a lot more modern looking.
Yeah, so. I think they look nice, actually. Okay. So I like these better, maybe.
And for a long time.
Doesn't mean I want speakers in the whole house, so.
I know. Yeah. Well, this has been a long journey in itself, because a long time ago you told me our deal was, and this was her idea, to have a dedicated theater room. You said, hey, why don't you have a dedicated theater room? And I didn't know the reason why you wanted me to do that is because you didn't want to see speakers, because you've seen speakers for 27 years that we've been married, in the living room, in the bedroom, and you're like, hey, let him do whatever he wants in there. But then one day, not too long ago, you were like, hey, if you want some speakers, that's fine. I just want a new living room set. Yeah. I want some new furniture, because we had really, really old furniture.
Yeah.
So, all right, so now let's transition to kind of what you heard. 3 days ago, we sat down just like this, and actually Jessica was sitting way over here, off axis. And I'm like, you know what, let me just play some music. So I played some of my music, played them with one. She was playing on her phone a little bit while I was switching cables. She had listened to the next song. And I said, did you hear any differences? And what did you hear then? Like, do you remember what you told me?
Well, I mean, they both speakers sounded great, but one that was playing I thought sounded a little bit more clearer, and the voice, and I could hear the different instruments seemed more live, I guess, versus not live, I guess. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know too
The
much
biggest
about
thing you
all
shared
that.
at that time was you just specifically heard the vocals or the voices. You just said they seemed clearer to you. And what was interesting is every single time you picked the same speaker and you said the same thing about it. You didn't mention anything else, but I just hear the voices clearer in this particular speaker. And I even switched up the order, so she didn't know what I was switching. So I think we did that maybe, let's just say 5 or 6 times. It wasn't a bunch. It was just different songs that I had chose. So today I'm like, I'm just curious, is it gonna be the same thing? So let's sit down and let's do it one more time. A couple more songs. I think we went through 3 or 4 songs.
And he made me sit in the middle, but I don't really know why the middle. But I think it doesn't matter where you sit.
Right. So Jessica likes sitting off axis because she can lay down and relax and read a book, or she can, play on her phone or whatever and just enjoy the music. Of course, you guys know it's important to kind of sit in the middle. You just get better imaging and all that sound stage. But I had her sit in the middle, and this time we did the same thing. Played some music between one, played music between the other. But I wanted to use music that she's familiar with. Music from her playlist when she goes running in the mornings, does her 5Ks. This is what she kind of jams to. And some of it's upbeat, some of it's very melodical. So again, kind of
You use such big vocabulary words, melodical.
All right.
Sorry.
I actually don't feel like I can describe what I'm hearing most of the time. It's like, oh, it's awesome, it's cool, it's great. I wish I had a better vocabulary, but thank you.
Yeah,
So,
you could teach vocabulary to my students.
So what did you hear the difference? Like, what were the differences? And then I'll tell, because I haven't even told her what she was listening to on either one of those.
So we listened to 2 songs because I wanted just only 2 songs, and 2 songs I knew. We listened to it back and forth. They both sounded really good, but I really thought one was better than the other. Like one, I felt like I could hear the voice seemed a little bit
you're
more
saying the same
clear.
thing every time, right?
The voice, and then I noticed the drums. Like one just felt like it was more live. The instruments, whatever, like the bass, I guess would be the drums or whatever. It just sounded a little bit different. I mean, I thought they both were good, but one just seemed more like real. Maybe you're there in the concert, maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. I probably picked the wrong speaker today, but it's okay. I mean, there's no right or wrong because they're both good. You've always loved Klipsch, and this is MartinLogan, so they've always been great speakers, but I have no idea which one I like.
All right, so going back to the day one when we initially did some A/B comparisons, that day I didn't level match the speakers. I just played them as they were. I didn't even think about level, because again, we weren't really doing any kind of critical listening or anything. It was just very casual. I just wanted to get her impressions if she heard any difference. And so they weren't level matched. She was sitting off axis, and each time you actually picked the MartinLogans. And the thing that she mentioned in every single one of those demos, she said, I just hear the person singing, and that's clearer. The vocals are clearer. And that's really, you didn't mention anything about bass, any difference there. You didn't mention one being bright or whatever, because you don't know any of that.
I really don't know.
You just said, I hear the vocals clearer. So today, I made sure that I level matched the speakers. So I found there's about 6 dB difference between the Klipsch and the MartinLogans. So when I would switch to the MartinLogans, I would bump it up on the TV, we're using ARC to kind of control volume and everything from the TV, and we're just streaming Spotify. So I would turn the TV up to 55, and then I would, when I would switch over to Klipsch, I would have to back it down to 49. So, and on the SPL meter, and actually that may not be actual dB difference, but that's the difference on the TV volume. But I would measure the dB, and we were the same volume level. So both times you're listening to the same volume, because that can influence what our ears perceive as a better speaker. If it's louder, we tend to like that one more for whatever reason. So they're level matched, and once again, there was one time that you did feel you actually liked the Klipsch better. And I'm trying to remember, there was something specific about that song, so I'm not sure. But anyway, you picked the Klipsch one time, but then you had me redo it. You're like, hey, can we do that again?
It's really hard to remember. It really is. So
honestly, I think that's kind of important. A lot of times we feel that
because it sounds the same in a way,
Yeah. A lot of times we think that we've got great memories and that I can listen to a speaker. You guys will ask me in the comments, like, I'll be reviewing something and you'll say, how did this sound compared to something that I reviewed 6 months ago? The reality is you physically cannot recall the differences. Maybe some generalities, but it's even difficult when I'm just switching banana plugs, I'm not moving speakers around. It doesn't take minutes. It literally takes me about 15, 20 seconds to walk over there, switch, change the volume, hit play, and you're saying I'm still kind of forgetting what I heard. And I think that's important. So again, this is super subjective. There's no measurements, but I just wanted to get your opinion on that. But again, when we went back, you said, hey, let's do it again. I want to hear it one more time. And then we switched the songs. And then again, both of those times, and it was interesting. You said that I hear drums more.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant because I mean we hear.
I just started listening to the instruments because now this second day trying to listen, and I definitely heard the clearer voice. I was like, oh, I'll listen to something else, and I was trying to listen.
So you're trying to focus on something else in the song.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was trying to see how the instruments.
Okay.
You
So
know.
what was maybe different there? Is there anything specific?
I felt like when the ones that you could, like it almost felt like you were there, like the instrumentals were real,
Interesting.
live, I guess. But they both were very good.
Cool.
But I like the MartinLogans, I guess, better.
That's what you end up, your preference, so, which is interesting.
Well, it's good because at least I think they look better, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is that was the one thing when I reviewed the 60 XTIs, so that was from MartinLogan, probably 3 years ago. That was the main difference between that and the other speakers that I had reviewed, even side by side, was the vocals are clearer. And part of that reason, and I think I maybe have even told you afterward,
because it's on the top.
Well, you've got a tweeter on the top, but that second speaker is a mid-range driver. So that's dedicated to vocals specifically. Whereas the Klipsch speakers, they have the tweeter for the high frequencies, but then they're having to transition the mid-range kind of either in between the tweeter and the woofers or a lot out of the woofers. So, and it's a different crossover design, which is you don't care about, but it's a 3-way versus a 2-way. So, but I definitely heard that in the 60 XTIs, and when I did some comparisons on my own, that was the biggest difference. Is the vocals are certainly kind of more pronounced and just, honestly, they just sound better on the MartinLogans than the Klipsch, for sure. I haven't done enough A/B comparison to know like the bass response, and part of that, I want to put them in the exact same position because even moving a speaker a foot can change the bass response especially. So I want to play with that and just kind of really crank them up and see what they can do on the bottom end. I just thought that was interesting, so I wanted to get your opinion. So.
Hey, this could be a science experiment for my students. I wonder, you know what, when you're always trying to give them a science project, this would be a fun science project.
Except I got to lug 60, 70, 100-pound speakers to your school. I'm not sure that's going to work out.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, guys, we're going to continue. I'll make some more videos on the MartinLogans. Again, I want to give you a full review, but I just wanted something casual, something, let's just sit down and like I said, we haven't talked about it. I wanted just to get your honest opinion. And she's like, what if I pick the wrong speaker? There isn't a wrong speaker. What I've always tried to tell you guys is listen to as many speakers as you can because you're going to hear something different than I'm going to hear. You either, like especially with Klipsch, you're either going to love the sound or you're not. I've found very few people over the years that say, oh, they're okay. You either like the clarity and the detail or the brightness of it, or that's just cringy and horrible to your ears. But it's important that you listen to as much as you can and figure out what works best for you.
And your budget.
Budget is a huge thing.
That's always a big.
Well, the good thing too with all speakers, whether it's Klipsch, MartinLogan, Arundel, whoever, they've always got a variety of products. So they've got, most of the time they've got some budget, entry level, like MartinLogan just came out with the Motion series, which are more affordable than these. And then they've even got higher speakers. We're gonna have MartinLogan at M-Wave and just next week, super excited about that. But they've got a $100,000 pair of speakers. So that's way above the Youthman budget.
Yep, if I had $100,000, I'd be buying a pool.
True, that is true. So, see, she brings up the pool every video.
It's gonna happen one day.
One day, we gotta get the kids out of the house first.
When they're out of college.
Yeah.
Sure. 2 more to go.
Yeah. I am cranking out some details on M-Wave 2023. If you want to join us, we're going to be in Kansas City, July the 14th through the 16th. I'll be gone for like a whole week.
Yep, and I'll miss you.
So I'll be gone probably several days before that, several days after that. It's going to be a blast. Check out all the details, MidwestAVExperience.com. Hope you guys have an incredible week. God bless, and we'll catch you in the next video.
The next
That's
video.
it.